So when was freedom? It's a hard call. When was freedom? And then there's, what did freedom look like? Anybody have an idea? What would freedom look like? He gives the announcement. What would it look like?
Confusion.
Confusion, anybody else?
Shock. Poverty.
Well, the Emancipation Proclamation, remember, freed Africans in rebel states after the Civil War. The 13th Amendment emancipated other enslaved people. 1866 emancipated other people under the Indigenous Treaty. But one man said, his name is Houston Hartsfield Holloway, who was freed. He said, "For we colored people didn't know how to be free. And the white people around us didn't know how to have a free colored person around them. So we were all confused." But the majority of them left without any funds. What it tells you that is a part of the Emancipation Proclamation announcement is, yes, you're free. We suggest that you go back to your now employer as opposed to slave owner, and that you work for them quietly for whatever they will pay you. And we expect that you are not going to stand around doing nothing. And that's the rest of the entire Emancipation Proclamation order. But they were left without funds. They had plantation work that they had completed that grew an incredible amount of cotton and other kinds of resources for their slave owners, but they themselves didn't get paid. They themselves didn't have anything. And so when they were turned out, the people who were turned out and who were not threatened that if they left they would get killed, left with nothing. They didn't have food, they didn't have money, they didn't have clothing except what was on their back. And so that's what that looked like. And the very first thing that some missionary organizations started to do, because if you aren't aware of that, enslaved people could not learn to read and write legally. That was against the law. And so missionary organizations started to try to find people who were freed enslaved people and to teach them how to read so that they could start to understand what their rights were and how to be able to move themselves around in this work. And if you can go to the next slide, Mark. This, and I'm doing this out of order, but these are children who are the combination of indigenous people and enslaved Africans. Go ahead, Mark.
Give me a second, I'm going to make sure the volume's...
Good, I was going to say hold that for a minute. So what happened shortly after that was the Reconstruction, which was for a short period of time. There were people who enslaved African Americans at that time who then learned how to read, became active in Congress, became senators, started to assist in passing laws, and that went on for a very short period of time. And if you look up information about the Reconstruction, you will see an amazing number of Black people in office who were a part of the goings-on and the legislative system in the United States. That, however, changed because the same people who were against slavery then started to create Jim Crow laws, which segregated people, took away the right to vote, which took away the right to be able to maintain office. And so they weren't able to do any of the things that they had. So again, that was enslavement of another type that started to happen.